All right. So we have two kinds of programmers. One gets paid a lot of money and loves torturing, raping, experimenting, and doing whatever the heck they want, and they never get a consequence, and they're always kept secret by our government. The other one is a survivor who has been groomed to be a programmer. Now, when they are doing this programming, I want to make sure everybody understands what programming means. Programming is where, let's say a programmer says, okay, you're at a certain age. We're going to put in a certain part of this template, which I will get into in a minute. So they're putting in stories, and that's the best way to describe it. It's like a video game, and they're putting in all these pieces to this game. And you, the survivor, the unconscious, has to play the game. Because they did just what I read to you, is they have to knock out your mind and put in the new mind they want you to have. Most people that, let's just say children that start in these programs, there's no way they can handle what they're going through. So their purpose is to torture someone so badly, not to kill them, but torture them so bad to see if that child will separate their mind. And what I mean by that is the torture is so horrible to take. You have to split your mind. And that means the mind, the unconscious, will separate itself to have a part that can handle this video game, so to speak, and what they want you to do. Most of the time, it is going to have sexual things that they want you to do, and kids cannot do that. Well, nobody can do what they're asking, really. So the unconscious will continue to survive, split itself into parts so that they can do what has to be done. But when they do those things, they cannot go to the other part of the core self, the one that lives every day, has their life. They cannot, these parts cannot reveal themselves to the core part of a person, or that person's not going to be able to function. They take really, really careful procedures to make sure that the parts do not talk to one another. So they're totally separated. So you could have over 200, you could have 1,000 parts, which you usually will if you're a survivor, because you'll have 13 core parts, but you'll have many, many parts behind them. And so those parts are the ones that have to do the job for the programmer, or, you know, whoever they are a slave to. And because it is 4th of July today, I think it's a good day to talk about what this really means. MK Ultra. MK Ultra means that you're making a person a slave, because that person has zero free agency and zero free will. Even if you go and live your day and you think everything's normal, they absolutely do not allow you to have free will. And they don't want you to ever tell. So they have to make sure that this is the #1 rule in a satanic cult, which means Freemasons, Illuminati, witchcraft. They all have a #1 rule, and that is you never ever tell. And you have to obey the rules. But see, most people are not going to obey the rules of a satanic cult. What they will do is they have most of their members, just think of this, most of the members are under mind control. They don't even choose to be a part of this group, but it doesn't matter, because Lucifer is the one in charge, and Lucifer doesn't give you free will. So it doesn't matter what these people say or do, you never ever have free will. So you are completely a slave. And many times you're a slave to a particular person. A lot of times a slave can be to a politician, a businessman, it can be, you know, Hollywood. But my experience is it was to politician. So the programmers are so skilled. One of the politicians can call up and say, I want this sexual thing done. I want this sexual thing done. I want this, this, and this. The programmer literally programs the child, whatever the politician said they want, boy, girl, whatever age, They go in and they literally create a part that's just for them to do whatever sexual thing that person wants. So that's done all the time. It's done so much. It's just unbelievable. So most of the politicians, definitely the higher ups, all have slaves, and they'll have many, not just one. Like Hillary Clinton, you know, she had a zillion. So they're all like that. And again, I always say this, they are running our government. These people who torture and rape children, they think it's great to put a little order in for the child that they want and have that child tortured and raped until they can fracture a part of their mind to separate, and what we call is DID, or multiple personalities, so that they can do this thing this person wants. So beyond, this is so beyond evil, and most of the things they program are so past a common normal person's ability to understand it. And that's why I'm trying to share this, what they're doing. I don't need to go in graphic details. I don't need to do that, and you don't need to hear that. But I do want to share what they're doing, because it's very important that we take control of these, the CIA and the FBI. They're all in on it. Even in the 60s, the 1950s, almost all hospitals were involved, pharmaceutical companies, they were all involved in the MK Ultra project. The list of military goes on forever that were involved in it. And it's necessary, just to let you know, and I have witnessed this myself, is many of the military that are joining, I would say at least in the last 10 years, but it may be forever, are being put under mind control automatically. There's no way they're going to be in this military without mind control and probably microchips. The reason you need to understand is the government believes that when someone signs in to be a military officer, they own them. That means they can do anything they want with their bodies, their minds, and everything else, their lives. And so I believe that's why so many military men have really killed themselves, even when they have not seen war, is because I believe, especially, I know in the last 10 years, and I'm sure it's before that, but I can only speak for this, is they have done horrible things to these men and women. And I have had military people call me and tell me they were perfectly healthy, perfectly fine. And when they signed up for the military, they started having absolutely psychotic behavior. They didn't understand. They never had this before. And the latest one, actually, she called me on Memorial Day. And she said, you know, I just need some help. I don't know what to do. I've been, you know, in the military, and they started sending me to all these weird places in like Germany and other places. And they were sending me to these therapists and putting me on all this medication and all these things I don't even remember what I was doing in serving. So just that alone, you know, even if no one else but her told me that, but that's just one person. So we have to realize what they're doing to the men and women, which are your children, who they are hurting, and they think they own, just like they think they own all of the kids who are kids to Freemasons, Illuminati, satanic, witchcraft cult groups, because see, they sell or give their kids to the military to do all this, because the military must really have the secret and the ability to make sure the children will never tell. And if you are in a satanic cult like my family was, you will not ever tell, because your family makes sure you don't tell, and your family will be abusing you at home as well to make sure you never ever talk. So that's why the military like the kids from the cults the best, because that assures a different outcome. Because see, if they just pulled kids off the street and started doing that, doing all this experimentation and stuff, they could, but it's not, I feel like it's not as easily done if your parents are not in the cult, or if they're not evil somehow. I know Kathy O'Brien has said that her father sold her. It didn't seem like her father was in the cult group, so I don't know. But for me, I know that that is the reason that I was given to the military, for absolute sure. Most people that I talk to and have that are survivors, you seem to have this some kind of military connection, and I know that that's the wrong thing to say and probably shouldn't, but we need to be aware that when people say their family was in the military, we have to have some red flags. Now, I know I'm going to tell you one thing with all my heart and soul. I'm so grateful for the men and women who truly, with all their heart, and wanted to just go and protect our country and wanted to fight for our country. I love them. I'm thankful for them. But I am angry what this government thinks they can do to these same people. And a lot of people say it's just the higher ups that do this. Okay, I will accept that. But I want you to know that they're still hurting the ones that are younger, that aren't in this stuff and don't want to be in it. So we have a problem, and we, the people, have to fix it. So that's why I'm telling you what they do behind closed doors. Because when it's funny, when they talk about the MK Ultra, you can Google it, the project. Oh, it was supposed to be done in the 1970s. They don't do it anymore, and they were only testing for drugs. It's like, yeah, well, let's say that you kind of forgot how much rape you were doing and how much you were making the person split their minds, and how you needed to be complete control of that person's mind. You were not just testing drugs. So once again, they're all in on it. So all we're going to get is information that are lies. So the more of us that have been through this and speak up, that's what we need. One of the common things that they use to get the child to split their mind is they would use hallucinogenic drug. But today they have so many different drugs they can use. There's so more, just powerful drugs that can do everything. So I'm not familiar with all that, but it's intense. So programmers, let's say they have, most people talk about this, is Disney. So they use the Disney movies to children for programming. And the reason why they do that is because a child is playful. And so if they give them a playful story, they can insert their programming of what they want them to do, which is evil. And how they also do this, the child must remember codes and letters, numbers. So they're often just called codes. And so the programmer forever, I thought, was just putting in, he would put in numbers and letters and sometimes symbols, colors, instructions. He'd often put his, date and his name. Okay, that's a typical thing of programming. But there's also, I did not understand this until later, is those numbers, what the programmer is trying to do, he's trying to pull in sacred G-mantra. I don't know much about it, but he's trying to pull the power from these numbers. But it's not the power of God, it's the power of the demons. So I always thought it was they're just random numbers, but they are not. They're numbers for a reason when they do this mind control programming on anyone. And so if somebody has mind control programming, you have to take out the programming for the person to be free. Last week, I didn't get a chance to answer this question, and I would like to answer that now. They said, what happens if you don't have all your memories? Well, then they can, activate you. And I'm going to share what that really means. It isn't about all your memories being remembered, because doubtful you'll remember everything that was done. But what is the most important is the programming, because if you have programming, that's the core event, which I'll talk about in a sec. They can activate you. It's not about the memories as much as it is the programming. So the mind control programming they use is very scientific, and it's based on a template. Now, this template was created by the Freemasons, and it's actually based on an ancient religion. It is not based on Disney. Some of the common programs, I'm just going to throw them out, is like the clock, the computer, the carousel, oh gosh, there's 100 and zillion, I shouldn't say it like that. There's enormous amount of programming to flood someone with memories or feelings to shut them down. We call those alarm systems. And there are alarm systems in the mind because the programmer made the child or the person believe that if they told or if they ever divulged what had been done to them, an alarm would go off. And that means like a bomb, a booby trap, it could be a suicide program. And so we call those alarm systems. And so we can shut those down very easily. It is in my book too, How to Shut Down the Alarm System. You can do that. You don't have to follow those programs. And as a survivor, I want to tell other survivors, you are the one that created the programming for the programmer. He didn't create it or she didn't create it. You did. You did because you were being tortured and raped to do it. So don't you think you have the power to undo what you created in your own mind? And I want to tell you that yes, you do. You can absolutely destroy what they have created in your mind because it's your mind. They stole your mind. And they think it's okay to have control of your mind. And that is the ultimate goal over our military, everyone that is a person that the government can get control over. Their ultimate goal is mind control on all of us. They're constantly brainwashing with all the commercials and the ads in the media. It's all that's MK Ultra. They're trying to share a story that they want you to believe is true. And that is MK Ultra. And that's being done to everyone for a really long time. So we need to stop letting them brainwash us. Because how do you do that? You know what they're doing. If you don't know what they're doing, you can't stop it. And that's like a survivor. If you don't know what they've done, then you can't stop it. You can pretend that you don't have to remember the things that they've done, but you do if you want to be free. I personally feel God has given a blessing to all of survivors that we don't have to remember every single thing because it would be just too much. But I do believe we have to know what he did, what they did do to us and how to undo it. I think it's incredibly important for a survivor to get free. Let's see. All right. The programmers also use demons. They like to call it black magic, but what we're really saying here is they know that once they put in their program, their story, they need a demon to carry it out. They need a fallen angel. So many people call it different things: demon, fallen angel, entity. They need them to strengthen what they've done. Now, in this programming process, there has to be permission. So oftentimes as a child doesn't know how to give permission, but what the parents might do, or the grandparents or the leaders of the cults might give permission for them to be programmed. Demons cannot attach to anyone without permission. Now, permission can be given by just someone doing something bad. Okay, that's an automatic permission for a demon. So if you're a survivor of anything, sexual abuse, physical abuse, whatever it was, that person that's abusing you gave permission for a demon to attach to you. And even though you are the victim and being hurt, the demon still has permission because of the abuser. That means you have to get rid of the demon that's attached to you because of what happened with the abuser. That's just a very important thing. You have to understand with cults and with the military, they can't do what they're doing without demons. Number one, mind control, if they don't have demons, is harder to stick. But when you have demons constantly layered in to a survivor to keep them in line, it's very hard to undo it if you don't know these demons are attached. Please excuse me for a minute. I'm going to try and see if I can see the chat. Is there I don't know. Can somebody just say you can hear this? That would be really good. If anybody could just write in the chat that's listening, could you just let me know because I don't see anything in the chat. So let me know if you can hear me. I hope you can. Otherwise, I'm talking to myself. All right. Well, I'm going to have to go on. Okay. I want to show you guys something that it's based on something that, okay, so I had advertised that I wanted to tell people that what is being done to people for the programming. There is an illusion of the top programming, which is the Disney and the computers and all that kind of stuff. Okay, that is the top programming, but the underlying programming, all of that which is being done to connect to Lucifer and creating his kingdom. So how many of you understand what the tree of life is? So the tree of life for God is, it basically represents eternal life and love from God the Father and joy. So the tree of life is an important gift for each of us to receive so we can have eternal life with him. Okay, so that's the tree of life. Now, Lucifer steals everything from God, and so he has what we call a tree of death. Now, the tree of death is opposite. The tree of death is what the person who's being programmed will have a very complex, what we call template of the tree of death programming. It's very complex, and what the ultimate goal is it's building Lucifer's kingdom in spiritual dimensions. Because when we relate to God, we're relating to a spiritual, positive, uplifting thing, correct? All right. So when Lucifer wants to connect the survivors to him spiritually. So he has this very complex thing, which I've written in my book, is how the spiritual worlds are created in the survivor, and how parts of the person is deeply, deeply hidden that are connecting to Lucifer. And so the programmer is doing a couple things. He is he's saying, okay, if you're ever going to remember, you're just going to remember this stuff like Disney. That's what I did for a long time. I went for 20 some years working on this top stuff. And what really matters for someone to get free is the kingdom of Lucifer that's been built in. And many people think, well, that's crazy, because I believe in God. I've been a Christian for a long time. There's no way that could be there. And I want you to know that it really is still going to be there, because your core true self is choosing God. But when they split your mind, at different parts and different ages to be loyal to Lucifer. Because see, every single thing they do now is to be loyal to Lucifer. So there's nothing that anyone can possibly, as a survivor, you cannot believe, if you ever want to get free, you have no loyal parts to Lucifer. It doesn't matter if your core heart and soul believes that you're completely loyal to God. Well, that's what God takes, because he knows you and he will accept that. But those hidden parts are what they need to control you and to build Lucifer's kingdom. And those are the parts that need the greatest healing. And so there's a lot of things that they use. I often thought, all of this was random in their programming, but now I know it's so organized, and it's a template, which means every programmer, no matter where you are in the world, you have to program the core foundation, and you have to program the template in. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're a programmer, you have to follow a template. And that means at each age, you will have a specific program put in. And those programs have to be put in exactly the way that the template states. So that means if a programmer dies and the child's like 5, They have to have somebody come in and take that person's place as a programmer and say, okay, you at 5 years old, this is where you're at. I know where to continue on. Because if it was all random, they couldn't do what they're doing if they weren't organized, and they're so organized with this. And that's the thing that I want everybody to know, public, professionals, and survivors. The programming that's done is incredibly organized, and it's incredibly complex. And the more that you get into this, you will be shocked at what they're doing. The experiments are, some of it is just so mind-boggling. I don't even know how to even share it. One of the experiment, they do this to everyone. So they will experiment on an MK Ultra survivor. They will experiment on them all the time, at every age, whatever they are trying to understand. Their biggest obsession is with DNA, and they're trying to take your DNA, mix it with something else, mix it with this, mix it with that, because the ultimate goal is they want to be the creator of, like Lucifer, for Lucifer. So Lucifer can't create. So if they can do this for him, then he can be the creator of the new generations of humans. They won't be human. He wants, they want the transhumanism, but they've done a lot of other things to change the DNA of a person. It's all incredibly abomination. Believe me, it is to God for sure. Okay. Let me go ahead and, excuse me, you guys, I'm gonna do this really quick. I'm gonna check back into Rumble because I can't see anybody if you guys ask any questions. So give me 2 seconds here. All right, if anybody could share, just write in the live chat if you can hear, I'd really appreciate it. That would help me a little bit. Okay, so does anybody have a question on what I'm shared so far? Anything at all? Okay, I'm going to show you something that may be interesting to you. It's very interesting to me. So I'm going to share the screen for a minute, and I'm going to show you why every single thing that they do is for a purpose. So it's not random. And one of those things is based on sacred geometry. So God created this sacred geometry that are patterns, and off these patterns are everything is created from. And so this is included in the mind control programming of the tree of death. And so I want to show you a picture if I can real quick here. Okay, here's one. If you can see that. Okay, this is called the tree of life. I hope you guys can see it. It's called, it's the fruit of life. And the fruit of life is a sacred geometry. And why that one is so important, along with the seed of life, sacred geometry. Let's see. I have a couple more here. All right, here is one, if you can see it, is the flower of life. And that's a sacred geometry, okay? And with the flower of life is the template of the tree of death, which is based on the Kabbalah. I know I'm really going fast, but I will go into more of that later. But the Kabbalah tree is a 10-point seraph. Okay, and this is made from the Kabbalah mysticism. And very long ago, the Kabbalah was very close with the Knights of Templar and the Freemasons. And they came up with this mystic Kabbalah of teaching. And the seraph tree is from this, and the Freemasons stole that from them. So what else they did is they stole from God, not the sacred geometry of a flower of life, Okay, you can see where the tree of death fits. A seed of life, and I'm going to show you what that all means in just a second. One's the fruit of life, and another one they actually use in the Merkabah. They use as a Merkabah, and that's this one. So these are basic, the sacred geometry that everyone has, that God created the universe. Well, they stole this. What in the world did they steal? Why did they use it? Well, I'm going to show you. When they put the core of, foundation in every survivor, do you know what is huge in the core of the tree of life, the tree of death foundation? Oh, when I found this out, I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. The flower of life. The flower of life, which is sacred geometry, is an absolutely huge, important part of the mind control programming to the tree. It can actually recreate the tree if you try to take out the tree. Another one, the seed of life. Do you know that in this programming, the seed of life is so huge? It's done at 3 years old. So there's another piece of, something really important from God, and Lucifer stole it. And then the fruit is based on the tree of life, and it connects to the tree of death. So they stole all of this, and they use the Merkabah to go to the different worlds that they have created in every survivor. I don't know if I'm going way past what I should be teaching, but let me just show you one other thing real quick. Let me see. Maybe I don't have it. Okay, here it is. We're not going to go into this tonight, but I might another time. This is the seraph tree, and each place is a representation of God's character. And what they did is they changed this to Lucifer and put his characteristics in here. And this tree of death is in everyone. There's actually 7. And you have to work your way up through the different worlds to Lucifer. And he is in Absolute. And to get there, you have to go through absolute, unbelievable, horrible torture. But they start off here, and survivors. And these parts of them that are 100% loyal to Lucifer have to work their way up through these. And how they work their way up to these spiritual worlds, their spiritual worlds and dimensions, is through great torture. And they have to accomplish a great deal. And the programming has to be completed by 17. And then by 19, you have to be married to Lucifer. Sounds horrible? Well, that's what they do in their programming, their real programming. They don't mind if you keep focusing on the stupid stuff. They could care less if you do that. But you could go ahead and. So that's what we're dealing with, is a complete cover up by the Freemasons, by the military, because most of the military, that high level who's doing this, they are Freemasons or Illuminati. And a lot of people want to separate them out. They're not separate. They're the same people. They teach the same template. It doesn't matter if it's satanic, witchcraft, Freemasons, Illuminati, because they believe in the same thing. They believe in Lucifer. And so that's what they're trying to do. But see, they cover it all up with all what they want all of us to talk about. And that's, the experiments that are done. Yeah, those are pretty bad. They are. But if you just healed yourself from the experiments and the Disney stuff, you won't be free. And that's why when I found this out, God taught me about this in 2019, about the tree of death. I did not understand. He taught me such a deep level. And I think it's interesting that he taught 2 other practitioners, different parts of the world. At the same time, he taught me that the foundation, you must go to the foundation to get a person free, because it is the only way a person can get truly free is by pulling out these tree of death that represent the loyalty to Lucifer. So that's what I do with my clients. I try to, if they can stick it out. Sometimes it's hard because a lot of people, and that's why I wrote my book the way that I did, is because oftentimes survivors, which is another program, as they don't have money to get help, or they just aren't willing to maybe do the work of what needs to be done. And both of those things are actually programmed into a survivor so that they never finish, because they want to make sure you never have money. So usually a survivor will have a lot of money programs to not ever have enough money. And if you do have a lot of money, you usually will not have memories. You won't be able to get to this stuff. And that's programming. So that's what I want to tell survivors. And so God just said, write this book, show them what the core foundation is. And so if they can find another person to help them and do this exactly the way it should be done, to removal in the right order, they can get free. And so I believe God is helping us right now get free at a pace that has never happened before, ever. So let's see. The book is The Puzzle Pieces Together, and it's a manual, and it just shows you where the programming starts, which is in the womb. And the mother will experience many abuse rituals to abuse the child, and it starts at conception, and then it works at every age all the way through. And so the book shows what the true core foundation is, and just focus on that. Because if you focus on all the programming that was done to you and all the programming and all the memories, you'll never get free, because it'll take you forever to try to undo everything they did. And God said that's not what's important. It's important to go to the core of it's Lucifer's kingdom, basically, and tear that out by its roots, and heal the core parts, which will heal all the hundreds of parts. And so far it's been just working fantastic, you guys. It's been working amazing. Is there anybody that needs to ask any questions or anything so far? Okay, I'm gonna put that out. Let's see. You guys, I'm sure I'll get better at this in time. So I hope you can be patient with me. All right. Does anyone have any questions by chance that you would like answered? All right. Well, what I wanted to just share is that with this MK Ultra programming, it's gotten so bad that it's something that they have grown into this monster of absolute obsession to get whoever they can. So their main goal right now, and I know I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. Their main goal is they must have the children right now, this generation. They must have them, because they can't complete their New World Order and their plans for the future without them. So that is why we all must, I still say this word, fight. We must fight to protect and stop them, because this is how bad it has gotten. What I might do one time is take from a whole bunch of different people, just little excerpts of experiments that's been done on them from real people. It would blow you away, because first of all, no one in their right mind could ever think of these things. And yet they are being taught by Lucifer how to do just absolutely horrible experiments right now. And when I was younger, when they were doing the programming on me, I'm 62, and you know, they did everything physically, but now these generations, 30s and 20s, and they used a lot of what is it called, virtual reality, to help to put in the programming, because when you use the virtual reality, they can do things a lot worse to the person, and that person won't have any marks on their body, but their mind will believe that they've been hurt incredibly horribly, that a person couldn't survive. But in this virtual reality programming, it is making it more difficult, I won't lie, to undo the programming. But that's where I think if we just focus on the core programming, we can. So that is, I apologize, I was out of town, so everything that I was doing, I didn't have time to completely finish this in the way that I would have liked to. So if any of you have any questions, that would be fantastic. And then I think we will be just a tad bit early tonight, and not quite an hour. I have Is there anything that I can answer for anyone of anything that I shared today about programming, MK Ultra, how the CIA runs all of this? Anything at all? Okay, well, I guess I hope I'm not I hope I'm not seeing them. I know that it is 4th of July and I know a lot of people are gone, but I do want to let you know that for me, I love our country so much. And to someone like me, a survivor, our freedom is the most important thing in the world. And when your freedom is taken away, there's nothing more precious to you than your freedom. And I really do thank God. I thank the patriots. I thank everyone who's fighting right now. I thank everyone who loves God, this country, and loves their families and each other, because that's what it's going to take. And I'm so grateful. I want to make clear, I'm very grateful for the militaries whose hearts are pure and they just want to serve our country. It's so important to honor our freedom and to value it, because I promise if it is ever taken away from you, it will be the biggest loss that you could possibly feel in your life. And survivors and anyone, if your freedom is taken, it's the thing that you want the most in the entire world. And it's the thing that the globalists, the Luciferians, want to take from you. So it is worth a fight by all of us. I'd like to share just a poem. I tried to find it and couldn't, so I'm going to summarize it and then I'm going to end. There was this woman wrote a story, and she was a survivor, and she's basically talking to people in general, like her neighbors, church members, and she said, you know, I would love that I could be able to tell you my story and you would be able to hear what I have to say. If I called you or called, you know, in my church and I said, I've been abused by my husband, there would be 30 people there to help me. But if I tell you that I have been ritually abused, I'm crazy and there's no one to talk to. And that's the thing for survivors. It's very lonely because there's very few people that they can talk to. That's also part of their desire, the CIA, all these cults, is to keep that person isolated, lonely, scared, and not be able to tell or talk. And we must reach out because MK Ultra survivors that belong to these cult groups, they're in your churches. They are your neighbors. They're friends, they're people you work with, but they hide what's been done to them because of the inability for people to accept it. So I really pray that we can all listen to someone who is a survivor so they don't have to feel alone and they can have the support they need to get free. You don't have to take on their stuff. One time I was speaking and somebody asked, well, you know, what you're sharing is just really heavy. How are we supposed to handle that? And I said, I think the only thing that what anybody needs to listen to right now is just to be aware of what happened, but you do not have to take it on, and just give it to God. Let God carry that for you, but you keep the knowledge, because the knowledge is what everyone needs to have right now to fight this great evil. And that's where I'm going to end. I don't see anybody talking, so or anybody on chat. So, okay, guys, I will see you next Monday at 7 p.m. Monday, Eastern Standard Time. Take care.